Well, hey everybody, and welcome to another video here on the Merriam Pianos YouTube channel. We have got the brand new Yamaha 225 here, and we've got it stacked up against the Kawai ES120. I suspect that this pairing, as well as maybe this versus the FP30X, is going to be a really common research project or comparison point. They are both 88-note weighted portable digital pianos. They are both from acoustic piano companies who also make a wide range of really great digital pianos as well. And these two instruments are very close in price. The Kawai is slightly more expensive than the Yamaha, but more or less this is pretty close to an apples to apples comparison in terms of the customer they're going after and the price that they are charging for it. Let's start first by reviewing all the critical specs between these two models. We'll start with the Yamaha. This is a 192 note polyphony tone generator. It is working off the CFX engine. Basically it's based off their top-of-the-line 9-foot concert grand. It's got a resonance engine in there to deal with string resonance. It's got some reverb and other basic sound effects in there to kind of give you the option to play around and enhance the tone a little bit. It has 24 onboard sounds, including 4 acoustic pianos, and it has 4 speakers, 2 pointed out the back and 2 smaller tweeters that are pointed out the front, delivering a total of 14 watts of power. The instrument has Bluetooth audio. It also is equipped with a USB audio interface and has the ability to record and all of the other basics like blending 2 sounds together, splitting the instrument up, transposing, metronome, all of that stuff. It also has an extra feature on here that gives you the auto accompaniment, basically lets you play along with a drum and a bass, and this is something that the P-125, its predecessor, also had. Getting down into the Kawai, this also is 192 notes worth of polyphony, and it is being delivered through the harmonic imaging engine. And one of the fundamental differences between the Kawai tone engines and a lot of the other tone engines, because they all kind of have their thing, right? Roland's got the modeling thing that they've been working on, or the supernatural engine, which is kind of a bit of a combination of sampling and modeling. Yamaha has their CFX engine that they've been sort of working on and perfecting for a little while. They're a little less open about some of the tech in there, but certainly there's quite a bit of dynamicism going on. Kawai's whole thing is that these engines are based upon unfiltered stereo samples. So it would be fair to say that until you get into the software world, if we're talking about just the mainstream digital piano manufacturers, it's got the fattest raw audio samples that it's working from to generate its piano tone. And so provided that that tone is going through a series of amplifiers and speakers that are good enough to deliver all of that extra little detail, you really do come away with a super authentic acoustic piano experience when you're playing Kawai digitals. Now, you also have to like the sound of a Kawai acoustic piano. It's a different sound slightly than what you get on a Yamaha or what you get on a Roland. It tends to be a very colorful tone. It tends to be a really warm and rich sound. So you gotta like that before the big fat samples mean anything to you. But if you do, it's kind of an interesting thing for Kawai to have focused on. Rather than adding on a whole bunch of extra bells and whistles, they're really continue to stay focused on that piano, acoustic piano tone generation. Now, the speakers on here are 20 watts versus the 14, and it's just 2 speakers. However, they do have tone ports to allow some kind of secondary tone out the top of the instrument, so you do get some clarity. Not quite as much as you get out of the Yamaha, because of course that's an active tweeter, but certainly it's not muffled. You are getting some clarity, and we are going to be recording this with microphones so that hopefully you have a good sense of just what these speakers are doing in real life. Now, the Kawai does not have a USB audio interface, but it does have both Bluetooth audio as well as Bluetooth MIDI. Both of these instruments are equipped with dual 1/4-inch outputs, which is great. Now, the other thing that the Kawai tone engine does, in addition to start with those big fat samples, is it also gives you more editable parameters than what you get on the Yamaha. It's a little closer to what Roland does with their supernatural engine, where they open up tons of parameters that you can go and customize, so you can really sort of create your own piano tone. But today we're just going to be dealing with factory sounds from both. And then finally, to the last big category I'm going to cover, which is the action. The Yamaha 225 has a new Grand Hammer compact action, which is different than what was in its predecessor, the P-125. So the GHS action was in the P-125. This is the GHC action. And this has taken more of an approach similar to what Casio did several years ago when they released their PXS 1000 and 3000 or subsequent 1100 and 3100, where they really shortened the key stick to get a nice compact action that could strip weight and cost out of the instrument. And I think for a lot of both beginner players as well as a decent number of digital piano players who weren't coming from like years and years of experience on acoustic piano, you know, those actions worked really well. They felt really great. I think what threw some people off, and it was more on the pro end of the industry, or specifically acoustic piano pro end of the industry, was this whole idea that once you get a key stick that's so short, it really changes how heavy the key gets once you start playing in, which is, you know, not something that super beginner players really care too much about, right? They're usually playing the white key here and the black key there. Well, the more advanced you get and the more thick the repertoire gets, the more you find yourself having to play in there, and then this is where it becomes a bit more of a factor. Down on the Kawai, we've got the Responsive Hammer Compact RHC. It's double sensor. They both have double sensors, by the way. This one has a longer key stick than the Yamaha. And so it does actually have both a more uniform feel and a slightly lighter feel, which is not something I'm used to saying when I'm comparing these two companies. Normally Kawai has a slightly heavier feel than the Yamaha I'm comparing to, but it's definitely not the case, you know, between these two models. They both have matte keys on the black, and Kawai has a matte finish on the white key. Yamaha has a straight gloss finish on the white key. So let's now hear these instruments, and I'm going to play them both just kind of freely for a minute or so, and then I'm going to start playing some specific passages in the low, mid, and high section of each, so you can really get as good a sense as possible of just how these instruments sound and behave. And we're going to indicate really clearly on the screen when you're hearing just line out, meaning what you'd be hearing on headphones, versus the microphones, which is what I'm hearing in person. Let's just start moving through the range now. So here's the low end of the Yamaha. And the same thing down here. Into the mid-range. So a very different character between these two instruments, and you might really prefer the character of one over the other even before we start getting into the nitty-gritty of how it performed in the low, mid, or high, and that might be kind of the fork in the road right there. If you enjoyed both, even though you could hear that they were a little bit different, then listening to how that was performing, you know, in the various ranges might become a little more important to you. So both pianos have approximately the same number of sounds. For example, on the Yamaha, we've got 6 categories, and each of those has 4 variations. The root variation, and then as these various lights light up here, you'll know that you're on either the 2nd, 3rd, or 4th iteration. So there's piano, there's piano 2, 3, and 4. And so you've got 4 E-pianos, 4 organs, which are actually really solid. Down here, it's tipped much more heavily over to the acoustic piano side, where I think there's 7 or 8 different acoustic pianos. So here's the default. And number 2. Which is a great upright sample, actually. I believe that's back to the top. So quite a few other options in there. You do have Rhodes, Whirly, kind of a DX sound. So there's your B3. And then a few string patches on top of that. Back to the top. Both of these also have some basic record capabilities. You can plug in USBs and get audio files straight to a USB key, which can be pretty handy. They both come with available stands, and you can get triple pedals with both of these as well. One more thing I'm going to bring up with the ES120, because when they brought the 120 out as the replacement for the 110, the design was a major point of conversation. They have really slicked this up to be one of the most premium looking cabinets, I think, of any portable digital piano, right up through the $2,000 price point from any of the companies. All of Kawai's other stuff, all the Roland stuff, like, it's just a really slick design. So if you're somebody who is kind of into aesthetics and that's a factor, hard to beat this one. It's a really classy looking presentation. Both of these instruments tend to be, I find, slightly less dynamic than, say, the equivalent Roland in this space, which would be the FP30X. So in terms of the responsiveness and dynamicism between the two, I would actually say it's quite similar. Anyway, I hope that you found this review to be helpful. We've certainly enjoyed doing it, and if you did, please subscribe and hit that notification bell, because we'd love for you to come back and join our ever-growing community of piano lovers from all over the world. There's some really, truly awesome people who hop in here and comment and know a ton about pianos. Also, if you happen to be in the market for either one of these, you can check out the links below below in the description. We have sourced links from all around the world, depending on where you are, to get great pricing on either one of these machines. My name is Stu Harrison. Thanks again, and we'll see you soon.